Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we will be going over units and conversions. Simply put, units are ways we quantify measurements of various concepts. We have units that measure length, such as the US units of inches, feet, yards, and miles, as well as the International System of Units, or metric SI units, which include centimeters, meters, kilometers, and so on. For volumes, we have units of gallons and cubic length, such as cubic feet. While for SI units, we have liters or cubic meters, among others. Then for weight, we have pounds in the US, or in SI units there are grams and kilograms. And then of course for time, we have units of seconds, minutes, and hours, and so on. With so many different units that measure the same quantities on different scales, it is important to know how to change between units, or rather how to convert them. If we have two units that measure the same thing, then there exists a conversion factor between them. Some conversions you might have ingrained in your mind, such as the fact that there are 60 seconds in a minute or 60 minutes in an hour. We can write these conversion factors in equations like so. If there's 60 seconds in 1 minute, then 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. Similarly, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, so 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. Let's go ahead and list off a few more conversions. There are 12 inches in a foot, so 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. There are 3 feet in a yard, so 3 feet equals 1 yard. Then we have conversion rates between US units and SI units, such as 1 mile is equal to 1.60934 kilometers, and that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. Now obviously there are many more conversion factors than what we have listed here, but oftentimes they are either provided for you, should be well known, or are just a quick internet search away. Now that we have seen some conversion factors, how do we make use of them to convert measurements? When doing conversion problems, you are often given some measurement to start out with. Let's say, for example, we are starting out in centimeters. The question might then explicitly ask you to convert to another unit. In this case, let's say we want to go to inches. However, this isn't always explicitly stated, and it comes down to being aware that in order to do calculations, you want everything to be in the same units. The process of converting units makes use of ratios. Any conversion factor we will be needing will be turned into a ratio. In this case, we need to move from centimeters to inches, so we want to use the conversion factor between those two units. In this case, 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. We can make two ratios out of this conversion factor. We can either have the 1 inch on the top of our ratio over the 2.54 centimeters, or we can put the 2.54 centimeters on the top with the 1 inch on the bottom. Now that we see there are two possible ratios, which one should we use? Choosing which ratio to use is where we must now pay attention to what unit we start with. In this case, now let's go ahead and say we are starting with 32 centimeters, and we want to turn that to inches. We start out by making a fraction of whatever our given measurement is by placing it over 1. Then we will multiply by the appropriate conversion ratio. We will choose which ratio to use such that it cancels out the unit we are moving away from and leaves us with the unit we want. When we say cancel out, remember that if we have the same number on the top and bottom of a division bar, that they cancel out, leaving just 1. We want the same thing to happen here now with units instead of numbers. We want to get rid of the centimeter units. So since we have a unit of centimeter on the top already, we need a unit of centimeters on the bottom now to cancel it out. Then we are trying to move to inches, and we have the conversion ratio that has centimeters on the bottom with inches on the top. So using the ratio with centimeters on the bottom, we'll cancel out the units of centimeters, leaving us with just inches in the numerator. Once we see what unit goes on the top and bottom of our ratio, we will just fill in the numbers that go with each unit. The 1 goes with the inches, and the 2.54 goes with the centimeters. From here, we just multiply our fractions like normal. The numerators all multiply together, while the denominators multiply together on the bottom, and we'll be left in units of inches. Doing the multiplication and division, we find that 32 centimeters is equal to 12.6 inches. And that is our answer. We can also do multiple conversions in one step. Let's now say we wanted to find out how many inches are in 3 yards. We haven't seen a conversion factor that takes us directly from yards to inches. However, we can break it up into steps. The conversion factor 3 feet equals 1 yard can take us from yards to feet. Then we can use 12 inches equals 1 foot to take us from feet to inches. Again, we'll start with the measurement we were given, the 3 yards, as a fraction over 1. Then we will need to multiply by a conversion factor that gets us out of yards. The conversion factor that we have yards in is this one here, so that's what we will be using for this ratio. We know to cancel out the yards on the numerator, we need some yards on the denominator, which means the other side of this conversion factor, the feet, goes on top. Then just fill in the numbers associated with each unit. The yards gets the 1 and the feet gets the 3. This will end up canceling out a unit of yards on the top and bottom, leaving us in feet. We don't want to just stop at feet, however. We want to get to inches. And so we can just keep going and multiply by another conversion factor. In this case, we have a unit of feet left over that we are trying to get rid of. So we'll use the conversion factor with feet. That will get us to inches. Currently, the unit of feet is on the numerator, so to cancel it out, we need feet on the denominator, which means the other side of this conversion rate, the inches, goes on top. Then fill in the numbers associated with each unit, 1 with the feet, 12 with the inches, and this will end up canceling out our units of feet, leaving us in just inches. All the tops multiply together, so 3 times 3 times 12, all over the denominators, 1 times 1 times 1, and we are now in inches. Doing all the multiplication, we will see that the 3 yards we started out with is 108 inches. Before we finish for today, there are a few extra things to make note of with these unit conversions. So far, all the units we have dealt with have been in the numerator of our initial fraction. However, anytime you see the word per or a division bar in the unit, the units after those will be in our denominator. For example, 65 miles per hour. If we were wanting to convert this, we would need to start out with a fraction, 65 miles, on top, but then because of the per hour, when we do our fraction over 1, the units of hours are now on the denominator. 65 miles per every 1 hour. Then if we see something like this that is read 10 meters per second, with this division bar as our per, making this fraction would be 10 meters over 1 second. Another thing to make note of is when we have exponents on our units. For example, 15 cubic feet is a measurement of volume, but is actually 3 units of feet multiplied together. So any conversion factors that take feet to something else, such as there being 3 feet in every 1 yard, must actually be done 3 times. To see how this works, let's write the 15 cubic feet in a ratio where the cubic feet is now written as the units of feet times feet times feet, all over 1. Writing the units out like this helps us see that in order to cancel out all 3 units of feet, we need to multiply by the conversion factor of 1 yard over 3 feet 3 times. And by doing it this way, we see that each unit of feet is canceled out on the top and bottom. And this will leave us with now 15 yards times yards times yards on the numerator, and 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27, on the denominator. Multiplying 3 units of yards together gives us cubic yards, and doing the division of 15 over 27 will give us approximately 0.556 cubic yards. With that, we have discussed the basics of converting units. There are some more we can discuss when moving between prefixes of metric units, but we will save that for another video. Until next time.